Okay, you asked a question about referencing by value and maybe by using address and things like that. Okay, so let me do that now. I will explain the difference, how JavaScript works. In fact, I'll go back to vanilla JavaScript to explain it. This explanation will give you a better clarification on why we used to split. When we have a state and we want to use the value of that state, maybe for instance, let me, in one of our projects, I'm coming, let me give an instance. This is an instance. Look at this part. We have to split this inside this place, and the reason is because we don't want to alter these details directly by using, because of these parts, this find and this part, we don't want to alter details directly. So what we are doing is we are splitting it somewhere, then we can do whatever we want with this. Now the explanation I want to give tonight will make you understand the necessity of this line, why this line is important to us, to what we are doing. So let's go back to vanilla JavaScript. In fact, this is not about React. This is about JavaScript. It's about JavaScript. So I will open desktop. So let's explain one or two things. When you have variables like integers, string, numbers, booleans, those four, integers, string, numbers, and boolean, when you save them like this, what JavaScript does is that it creates a container for A and it stores 5 in that container. Like, it creates a variable A, then it stores 5 inside that A. If I say let B equals A, this A actually has an address. Every variable has an address. In fact, every item has an address. Please, are you following me? Please, are you following me?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay. Now, someone wants to join. You're welcome. Now, every container, in fact, every value has an address. So this A actually has an address. Then this 5 is kept at that location, at that address. When you come here and say let B equals A, JavaScript will go to the value at this address of A and it will store the value into B. It's only storing the value at that address. So it's storing this 5. 5 is the value of A. When you say let B equals A, it will pick 5 also and store it as B. Do you understand? It will pick 5 and store it inside B. So when we say console log B like this, you see 5 there. Let's proceed. If this were to be a string also, it's the same process. It stores the value. Let's say this is my name. Let's say variable name equals to Taye new name. Oops. Equals to name. Then I say console log new name. The same process. It stores this value as into name, like at a particular location, and it labels it name. Now, when you say new name equals name, it only picks the value of name, which is this Taye, and it stores this into new name. Then when you say console log new name now, you see Taye there. It's still the same process. Still the same process. Let's proceed. Now, if I come and say name equals to 10, and I say console log name, new name, comma name, I want to see both the new name and the name. Now, name will be Kenny, but new name will be Taye. Do you understand? Because at this point, you start the value of name at this point. That is before this line. You start the value of name, and the value of name is Taye, right?
Yeah.
The value of name is Taye. You start it into new name. So here, you change the value of name to Ken. You didn't change the value of new name. You only change the value of name. So when you say console log new name, this will be Kenny. Sorry, this will be Taye. New name will be Taye, but name will be Kenny. Yes. Any questions so far?
No question.
Okay, let's proceed. Now, but when you are dealing with array, okay, when you are dealing with arrays and objects, it's a bit different. It's a bit different. Now, let's look at an instance. I'll delete all of this. I'll say let obj equals to, let's say I have an object like this, and the name is sorry, let's say department is computer science, CSC, like this. So what JavaScript is going to do at this point is this. Sorry, someone wants to join. Okay, now to those of us that are just joining, let me explain what we are doing. Normally, it should be like, this should be continuation of our React class. But the first person that joined, at least it came about 10 minutes before others. So he asked a question, and yes, the question borders on difference between referencing by value and referencing by address. Referencing the value of a variable by value and referencing by address. So I'm trying to explain that and how it affects our React project or the way we write React codes. So I'm explaining this using vanilla JavaScript. Now, I'm trying to, at this point, I want to explain how to reference by address, or how JavaScript does the referencing by address. Now, at this point, we have a variable called obj. JavaScript will create a variable called obj, and it will store this object at that location. So, of course, you know obj has an address, right? Obj has an address. When you do something like this, let new obj equals to obj. JavaScript will not store the value as new object. I come again. JavaScript will not store the value here as new obj. For string, for numbers, for booleans, it will store the value here. But for array and objects, it doesn't store the value. Are we following me? It does not store the value. It's not that you take this object and put it here. Right? What it does instead is that it stores the address. Do you understand? It stores the address of obj into new obj. I come again. When you do something like this, it's not going to store this as new obj. No. What it does is that it just makes sure that new obj and obj points to the same address. Do we get it? What this line is going to do is that it will ensure that new obj and obj, both of them, they will start pointing to the same address. You know, obj has an address. New obj will now start pointing to the address of obj. So when you say console log new obj like this, since new obj and obj points to the same address, it will display this for you. But the reason it's displaying this is not because it's not because new obj stores this value. It's just because new obj points to the same address as obj. So that's why it's able to display this. I come again. The reason it's able to display this, let's check our console and see what we have there. We have this. So the reason you're able to have this is not because this value is actually stored inside new obj. No. It's just because new obj and obj, both of them point to the same address. And at that address, this object is stored there. So we have this. What's the implication of that in our code? The implication of that is that if I say obj dot name equals to Kenny, I only change the name of obj. I did not change the name of new obj. Sorry, someone wants to join. I only changed the name of obj. I did not change the name of new obj. So all things being equal, you expect the name of obj. You expect the name of new obj to still be Taye, right? Are we together?
Yeah.
I only changed the name of obj. I didn't change the name of new obj. So you expect the name of new obj, this to still be Taye. If I say this dot name, surprisingly you will see Kenny there. Even though I changed that of obj, I did not change that of new obj. You have Kenny there. So and that's because both of them point to the same address. So when I change the name at that address to Kenny, it will affect everything that points to that same address. So that's why it affects new obj also. Do we get it? That's why it affects new obj also. Because both of them now point to the same address. This is the way it works for arrays and objects. When you assign an object like this to another object like this, so it's going to, both of them will start pointing to the same location, to the same address. So if anything happens to one of them, it affects the other. So to prevent that, you can do something like this. So what happens is that with this now, it's going to create a new object. It will spread whatever is inside obj and store it inside this. Then it will now keep it at a new address. Oh, sorry. It will now store it at a new address. Do you understand? So new obj points to an address, a new address different from that of obj. Sorry, someone wants to join. Please, are we following me?
Yes.
Okay. So new obj points to a new address different from that of obj. This is how you, once JavaScript sees curly braces like this, or square braces for, let's deal with array also. Let ARR equals to this. When it sees square braces like this, it creates an address for it, and it stores the value at that address. So ARR now points to that address. Let's keep values here, 10 and 11 like this. So when it sees square braces like this, it creates an address, it creates a location for it in memory, then it stores this value at that location. ARR points to that location. Sorry, someone wants to join. ARR points to that location in memory. Then when you say let's new ARR equals to ARR, both of them now start pointing to the same location that contains this. So anything that happens to new ARR will affect ARR, and anything that affects ARR will also affect new ARR. So if I alter one, it affects the other. So if you want to prevent that, you create this, you do this. So this will create a new address. It will create a new address in memory. So then it will, new ARR will now point to that new address. So both of them now will point to different address, even though they contain the same value, but they will now point to different address. Whatever happens to this now will not affect this. So this is how we deal with arrays and objects. So let's now go to React and discuss the implication of that in our React codes. Uh, so this is it. We need this line. We could have done something like this. We could have said, let me comment on this. We could have said, let's all details equals to details. But the problem with this is that whatever happens to all details will directly alter details. And remember, in React, you don't alter a state except you are using the set state, except you are using the function of that state. That is, if you need to alter details, you must do that using this set details. So if we try to do this now, whatever we do to all details will directly affect details, and you don't want that to happen. That is why you first played it into, so that both of them now will point to different address in memory, and whatever happens to this will not affect details. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's solve the solution to the last assignment. Then our time is fast spent. So in the last class, I gave us an assignment. I asked us to add a delete button to it. So let's go to this main. So here is the So when you click on this button, I want you to delete that particular one. Let's start our React app first. Okay. Okay. So when you click on this delete button, you want to remove that one from the page. And you click on this one to remove it. So let's do that together. In the last class, I explained that if you want to delete something from a state, the action must be done by the component that owns that state. Can we remember? In my last class, I said, if you have a state and a state has a value, if you want to alter that value, it must be done by that component that owns the state. So in the same sense also, if I want to remove items from this array, like this, it must be done by this state itself. Not, okay, someone is raising up. You can ask your question. Okay, you guys. So it must be done by that state itself. So this delete button must call on a function. When you click on this now, it must call on a function that will delete it inside this state, not from this place. No, not from this place. It must be done by the state that owns it. So we create a function here. We can call it delete item, like this. I'll just say alert. So what we want is that when you click on this button here, you want to call on this function and alert this. So we pass it down as props to that state. So you can call it maybe del item, just to make things a bit neater. Okay. So we can add del item here like this. And let the value be this function delete item. So we're passing down the function now as props. Let's come here and retrieve it. So we can destructure it here. Del item. Then on click of this button, del item. So when you click on this button, it will call on this del item. This del item will call on this delete item, then it will alert this. Any question? Next is that when you are alerting, you want to know the one that is calling on that function among these three buttons. So you can pass down the index. Let's do that together. So pass the index here. So you pass down this high. With this index, you can know the one calling on it among these three buttons. So, sorry, someone wants to join the class. That's not bad. I'll say alert index. Oops. Index. So 0. Now with this now, you can easily remove the one you want to remove. So we say let's I think I commented this, I don't let's our details equals to details. Then this time around you filter it. You can say all details dot filter. We don't need each value, then you can silence that. Then you return where index is not the same. This is similar to what we've done in the past. It's not the same as this I. Return those ones where index is not the same as high. You can say let's maybe my details equals to this. Then set details can now be my details. So this will filter it. It will remove that particular one from it. Then you save it as this. Then set details. Any question? This is just a combination of things we've learned in the past, our past task. Do we have any question? No. Or I guess you want to maybe shorten it. I don't know. You can do all of them, all of that here. You can say details dot filter index return index is not equal to this I. So with this now, we won't need these two lines again. It's still the same thing. These are the same things. Now we've been able to delete item from our list of items. In last class, someone explained that can we use table to do this. So let's try to implement that. And that was it. I promised the person that we address that in today's class. So come refresh this. We have name, we have what's it called, number, and we have item. Okay. We have name, we have goods, we have quantity. Name, goods, and quantity. Okay. So instead of doing this, let's try to display it in a table. So I'll create a table here like this. I'll create a table.
I have a question.
Okay.
My question was on the delete function.
Okay.
How it was before. That was where I want to ask the question. No, you formatted it.
Okay.
I want to how it was before. You know, we created like two variables.
Something like this. Okay.
Yes. Then the function using that.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Then so now here my question is this set details now. We are making use of my items, whereas in the increment we are making use of the first variable declaration, which is all details. So it's a bit confusing. So I was expecting that this increment, we can actually implement what we did like this one too. So instead of step details, putting all details, probably we can put found details too to achieve that.
Okay. Now, the difference between the
Do you
two.
get my question?
Yes, I get your question.
Don't differentiate it. Yes.
Okay. And the difference is this. Let's come back. Here we copied everything in details to all details. Now at this point we look for a particular item and we saved it as font details. The way JavaScript works, this part is not about React. This is about JavaScript. The way JavaScript works is that whatever you do to this font details, we affect the whole array. Do you understand? What I mean is, imagine there are 3 items in these details like this. Let's say I'll just copy these ones here like this. Allow me to just copy these ones for the sake of explanation. Okay. Like this. I will use maybe just 2 items so that we can see everything at once. I want us to be able to see the whole screen. Okay. So let's say we have 2 items here. And this I, let's say it points to this 1. Let's say it's 1. You know, this is index 1, right? This is index 1. So we copied everything inside details into all details, meaning all details will also look like this. Now, you look for index 1. So that means font details will be this object, right? Are we together?
Yeah.
Okay. Font details will be these objects. Now, if I say font details will just look like this. I'm coming. I'll just say copy this here. I'll comment this now. That means font details. Our font detail will look like. Let me put everything on the line so that we can see everything at once. Okay. So font detail will look like this now. Now, if whatever I do to font detail will affect this whole array. If I say font detail dot name equals to James, if I check these all details now, the name of this index 1 would have changed to James. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Okay. So if I say font detail dot goods equals to, let's say, fan, if I check this array now, this all details array, the goods there at this particular location would have changed to 1. Are you following the process now? So if I come here and I say font details dot quantity dot qty plus plus, it will affect this one directly. This will become 21. It will affect this all details directly. So it will just come here, pick the index 1 here and change the value there to, or at this point, to 21. So that's why it's possible for us to just use the all details here. Do you understand? If I set this to just font detail, if I set this to just font detail, what happens is that it will set the value of details to just an object. You know, font detail is just an object, right?
Yes, yes.
So the value of our details will no longer be an array, but it will just be this object. And that's not what we want. Instead, we set this to all details. So, and thank with the way JavaScript works, thank God for the way JavaScript works. The way it works is that whatever you do to this font detail will still directly affect this all details. So that's why it's possible for us to come here and say all details. So if someone wants to join the class, I'm coming.
Okay.
So that was for the first one. Let's go to the second one, which is this part. This is a bit different. Now, we look at this. We filter. When you filter like this, when you filter, it doesn't affect this. This will still remain. Let's say we have three items here. When you filter and you only have two, this will still remain three items. Do you understand? It will still remain three items. This is three items. This is now two items. Yeah. So we are now setting this to be the new item. So here, any other question? Okay,
it's clear, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I was trying to use table to display this. Okay. Our table, we have head and body. T head. Then we have T like this. TH. Then we have the name. We have the good name. So this one we can say person name or username, something. I say this one is good name. And this one is quantity. Quantity like this. Then for this to display each item, then now we can say in the T body, like this, we can have T har. Now, if I have three items here, I want to have three T har. If I have four items, I want to have four T har, and so on, like that. So instead of doing this, let's create a component to handle that. To handle each of the goods. Let's get a component to do that. So I'll come here and say, in my components further, I can say display good.js. So this is a component. So first, display good equals to, we have this export default display like this. So this returns this can return a T har. In my T har, I will have TD there. So don't worry, to make more sense as you look at it. So for a start, I will just say hello TD I. Lastly, TD A. Let's have this story. We have a T har, then we have hello, hi, hey in this T har. So let's come back here. Now I will remove all of this. Instead of displaying T har here, we will now say details.map. So of course, like I explained earlier, when you are using map, if you have 4 items here, it will run the map 4 times. If you have 5 items here, it will run the map 5 times. So item index. Sorry. So if you have 5 items here, it will run the map 5 times. If you have 4 items, it will run the map 4 times, and so on. Like this. So we now say display good, like this. So it's going to display this component based on the number of items that you have in this. Let's go to the browser and see what we have there. We have this. So we have 3 of these because there are 3 items in details. If let's say we have 4 items in details, it will display this 4 times. Of course, I also explained that when you are returning this, it needs to have a key, and for now, we still use the index as the key. So instead of displaying a hello, I, hey here, You want to display the name, the quantity, and the name of the goods. So you can pass them down as props. I can say name equals to item.name. Why are we using item.name? That's because we know item is an object. Come back here. Item is each item in details is an object, and it has a property in it called name. It also has another property called goods and another property called quantity. So we can send out the three. Name is item.name. It's not important to call this name, you can call it anything. Then what's it called? Quantity equals to item dot qty. Then lastly, good name equals to item dot goods. Again, the reason we are using goods is because this is goods. So each time it runs this, it will pass the name, the quantity, and the good name down to this display good component. So we can retrieve the three items here. We are sending down the name, the QTY, and this good name. So let's destructure this. And the reason we are doing destructuring is that we could have done something like this. Props. So this becomes props.name. Sorry, curly braces. Props dot qty. Then lastly, props dot good name, like this. Could have done something like this, and we still have our results. But oh, good name is under quantity. Let's change it. This should be good name, and this should be qty. We have this result. We can do it like this. But instead of using props every time, we can just destructure this out. Name, good name, and the qty. Name, good name, and the qty. So we have this. Let's add like a border to our table. I'll just put it here instead of trying it or styling it. So we have this. Any question? It's going to display this based on the number of items here. So for each of the item, you are passing down the name of the item, the quantity of the item, and the goods of that item down to this component as props, so that this component now can display the items here like this. Then if you wish to, you can take this part again and put it in another component. In fact, you can put the whole table inside another component, and then, in fact, let's do that together. This table will take inside another component. So I can call it, let's get a new component and do that. So I can call it table.js. Table equals to this. So now say return. I'll come here, cut this part out. Cut this part out. Just close the table like this. Indent. Okay. Table here, table here. Okay. See party. Yeah. So we have this. Why is this still throwing back error? This. That's maybe I should write this then. Then write turn back error. Okay. Table. See head. See body. my t how th like this. Username, good name, then quantity. Okay, like this. Then at this point now, we can bring this here, this here. Now, let's see what we can do at this point. This display good components, we bring it here so that we can display each of the good here like this. Display good components. But of course, you map it. Now, since we only need this, since these details, we can lift it out, or we can take it away from this app and bring it to this table. We can take the state since you are not using it at this point. This app.js will just be to should I say, a place where we assemble things together and display it. So I can lift all of this out of this component, all of this. Take this one out, take this one, take this one. Lift all of this from this place, bring them to this table component like this. Then, of course, we take this one again out of this place. Let me write it here too. We say details dot map item index return done. So I can just call this part now. So all of them are now here. Then we can just export these components. Export default table like this. Then here now, instead of fighting all of that, I may remove all of this and just put table here like this. So you know that everything about that table is inside this table components. Everything about it is inside this component. So you are just trying to reduce the codes in this app.js and separation of concern, like you want a component to just handle a thing. This app.js will just be like the assembling point whereby you assemble everything together. Of course, keep in mind that whatever you have in this app.js is what you bring to this index.js, app.js here. You are importing everything in this app.js here, then you display it. So each component will handle its own stuff. You assemble everything together in this app.js, then you export it out. Any question? We did exactly, and in this component now, we are doing exactly what we did in this app.js. Just the same thing. The use states, the increment, the delete pattern. We did exactly the same thing. Then we brought in this display good component. We passed it down as props, and after doing everything, after assembling everything, we exported it out so that we can import it here. Of course, if it doesn't get to this app.js, you won't be able to see it on the browser. If this is not there, you won't see it here. You won't see it there. And that's because we imported the app.js here so that we can display the app here. It's not cool for you to start importing each component in this index.js. Most of the time, you import all your components in this app.js, then you export just this app.js to your index.js, and you display it here. Do you have any question? Okay, one has a question.
My question is, what is another function of main?
Another function of
app.js. Yeah, main.js.
Main. Oh, we don't have main here. Okay, you mean index.js?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm seeing like a JS file there.
You said?
Saying is that I'm seeing like 3 or 4 GS file.js. So my question is like this main.js.
Okay, this one.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
I only use it to explain things in the last class. It's a separate component on its own. It's a component. You can create as much components as you want in your project.
Okay.
So I use it in the last class to explain things. Okay. Why is this turning back? And I use state is not defined. Oh. Import use state. So in our next class, we are going to see how to make API calls. And to make a request to the server, we make API calls. From there, we move to use effects. How to use effects in React. So thanks for okay. Someone is asking. Someone is using this one. Yeah, you can ask your question. Okay. Let's quickly go first. Okay.
So my question is, so far we've been using .js extension this one, but I think I have experienced a situation whereby someone was trying to, do something with React and they were using the extension of .jsx.
Okay.
So is it that you are going to, enter that stage as we proceed, or with this we are okay with it? Like I just want clarification about why we are using although everything is working fine, and from that .jsx file, like every file of that person, they are in .jsx, not ordinary .js.
Okay.
So I'm not asking, is there a stage where we get to whereby we'll be naming our file that way?
Alright, okay. Let the second person also ask a question so that if I see if it's something we can answer together. Okay. Thank you for your question. Thank you. I will answer the question. Kingsley, you can go on with your question. Okay, thank you. Maybe it's busy. Let me answer his question. Now, the reason you have .jsx, whether with JS or JSX, your code will still work fine. It still work well. Now, but the reason some people choose to use JSX is this. They use JSX for components. Okay, they use JSX for components that require displaying items. I mean, I told you at the first or second class under that this is JSX. JSX is JavaScript XML. You are writing HTML directly in JavaScript. This part is JSX. And because as time goes on, we'll get to a point whereby you will create some JavaScript file that you won't use JSX inside them. When we get to what's it called, custom hooks, we get to some point whereby we create some JavaScript file whereby in those JavaScript files you will only have JavaScript codes there. Do you understand? We get to some point whereby as time goes on, we write some JavaScript file that will only contain just JavaScript codes. So people that use JSX, they try to do that so that they know that once you see JSX, you know that this is concerned with displaying HTML like this. And when you see just JS, you mean that this is just JavaScript file without displaying any JSX. But whether you use JS or JSX, your code will still run fine. You still have the same result. But I'm just explaining the reason some people choose to use JSX. JSX, once you use JSX, you know, oh, this part displays HTML also. But when you just use .js, you know that this is just pure JavaScript without any JSX inside it. Do you get the difference?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. But in our class, we just use JS for everything, and we still have the same result. Okay. Any other question? Okay, in absence of question, let me give us a small task to do as assignments. Small task to do. Um, for your task, what you will do for me is this. You will add inputs here. There will be input. In fact, you get a separate component. A separate component. The component will have inputs, and you will use the input to add more items to this here. To this. You know, there can be, you can put the input at the top here like this, and you will use it to add more items, maybe to add the name, goods, and quantity. I come again. There will be, you get a separate component. Not that you come here and put your inputs here directly, no. Not that you come here and put inputs. No. Oops. So this can only be return one item. I'm just trying to explain that you won't come here and just put your input here. You create a separate component. That component will allow you, we have 3 inputs, one for the name, the username, one for the good name, and one for the quantity of goods. Then there will be a button there also. That component will be concerned with adding more items to this list here, to this array here. So when you click on the button, it will add more items to this. So please work on that in the next slide. A separate component, not inside, not that you put all your codes at a single place. It will be, the component will just be concerned with adding goods. You can call it add goods component. Add goods. That can just be the name of the component. And all it will be doing will be to add more items to this list. Please attempt these things. Please work on them. Attempt them. Don't just come to class. It is when you practice that you get better, not by coming to classes like this alone. When you come to class or when you watch videos, you think you know it until you start practicing. When you start working on it, that's when you know if you really know it or not. Thanks for coming. Have a lovely night test.